Well, I'm in my kitchen because we got banned from the school. Teachers can't enter the school now, apparently. So the lighting's not the greatest and my voice echoes. So here we go. Okay, exam at 5A, and you're solving for x. Should be easy to type up solve for x. Okay, here's number 1, example 1. We have 3 over 2x equals 5, okay? This is a simple proportion, okay? It's an ABC proportion if you put a 1 under the 5. So I know if these ratios are equal, two ratios that are equal, I know that A times B is equal to C times D. It goes A, B, C, D. Okay, so I'm going to make kind of an equation over here. So I'm going to be taking A times B and then C times D. So A is going to be 3, B is going to be 1. Notice I put a 1 under the integer 5, and then B is 2x, and C is 5. So you take 3 times 1 here, you're going to get 3, and over here 2x times 5 is 10x. Then make sure you divide both sides by 10, because that's the multiplier of the x. And now you've solved for x. X equals 3/10. Okay. Alright, example number 2. We have 2 over x minus 1 equals 4. So it's the same thing, okay? A times B is equal to C times D. The diagonal products are equal. Again, the reason why is because, like, take 1/2 and 2/4. Those are equal ratios. They're both 50%. 2 times 2 is 4, and then 4 times 1 is 4. So those are always going to be equal. And that's pretty much what you live on this assignment, okay? A times B, C times D. So A, we have 2. B, we have 1. C, we have 4. And D, we have x minus 1. Now 2 times 1 is 2. Now over here you have to apply the distributive property because you have that minus. So I take 4 times 1x, which would be 4x, and then minus 4 times negative 1 is negative 4, so minus 4. Now we got to get the x by itself. We need to add 4 to both sides. That leaves me with 6 equals 4x. And then we divide both sides by 4. That's 1.5. 1.5 is equal to x. Okay. Or 3 over 2 or 1.5, whatever. Okay. Okay, example 3. We have 5x minus 2 over x minus 4 equals negative 3. Put a 1 under the negative 3 so you have a proportion. So A times B is going to equal C times D. So A, B, C, D. So A is 5x minus 2, and then in the meantime the B is 1, C is negative 3, and D is x minus 4. Okay. So I'm going to distribute the 1, okay? So 5x times 1 is 5x, and then negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, so that's just 5x minus 2. On the other side, we have to distribute negative 3 times 1x is negative 3x. Then we have to take negative 3 times negative 4, which would be positive 12, so plus 12. Okay, now you have x's on each side. Just pick one of them to get rid of. I'll add the 3x. So now I have 8x minus 2 equals 12. Then I add 2. That's 14. I divide by 8. So 14 divided by 8 is 1.75. You can also go 14 ABC 8 is 1 3/4. So either 1.75 or 1 3/4. Okay. So example 4. Okay. We have 2 over x equals x over 2. Okay. So A, B, C, D. So I'll take A times B over here and C times D over here. So A times B, it's going to be 2 times 2. And over here I'm going to have x times x. So 2 times 2 is 4. X times x is x to the second power. Now this is a quadratic equation, but all we have to do is square root. Okay. So the square root of 4 is 2. So x is plus minus 2. There's 2 answers to any quadratic equation. Quadratic equation means we end up with x to the second power, meaning there's 2 answers, and that's an easy one. We can apply the square root method. Okay, 2 or negative 2. Okay, example 5. We got 3 over x plus 1 equals 1 over x to the second power minus 1. Okay, so A, B, C, D. I'm just making my parentheses when I hold that up. So A times B is equal to C times D. So A is 3. B is x to the second minus 1. Put a 1 right there. And C is 1. Well, D is x plus 1. So I need to distribute on both sides. I got to distribute this 3. So 3 times 1x to the second is 3x to the second. And then 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, so minus 3. Now over here, 1 times 1x is 1x, and 1 times 1 is 1. Now it's another quadratic equation, but we can't apply the square root like we did up here because we also have this x here, okay? Because we have an a. Remember, a is the x to the second, so that's a c right there. It doesn't have an x. This is a b if it has an x, and then another c. Remember, a's are the x to the seconds, b's are the x's, and then c's. So when we have a's and b's, we have to get everything to one side. So let's clear the side that doesn't have the x to the second. So minus 1x. And I really don't have a place to minus 1x, so it'd have to go here. Okay, be careful here. Minus 1, that's a c, and that can go with our negative 3. So I now have, for a, I have 3x to the second. Then I have to place my b, the minus 1x has to come next. And then c, negative 1, negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. Equals 0. Okay, now I have to do my t-chart. There is no, the GCF's 1, so I'm just going to go to my t-table here. So 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. So it's a positive times a negative. And we're adding to try to get to negative 1. Okay, so 1 and 12 is not going to do it. 12 divided by 2 is 6. That doesn't do it. That's negative 4. But if we divide it by 3, we get 4. Positive 3 and negative 4, and that adds to negative 1. So I found it. Now my a is not a 1, so it's a 3, so I need 2 sets of parentheses. Okay? Remember that rule. If it's not 1x to the second. So we're going to go 3, 3, and then x plus 3, x minus 4. Okay, so 3 and 3 we divide by 3 and it becomes x plus 1 or 1x plus 1. We wouldn't divide 3 and 4, that would stay the same. Okay, and then we set each one equal to 0. So x plus 1 could equal 0, or 3x minus 4 could equal 0. So I minus 1 from both sides, I get negative 1. There's your first answer. Then I add a 4 to both sides. and x is 4 over 3. Okay? Now, there is something called extraneous solutions, but we're not going to get to that. Okay? Alright. Those would be the two answers. Okay, number 6. We've got 3 over x minus 1 equals 4 over 3x plus 2. So A, B, C, and D. Okay, so A is going to be 3, B is 3x plus 2, C is 4, and D is x minus 1. Okay? So we distribute the 3. So we have 9x plus 6. And then distribute the 4. That's 4x minus 1. So there's only one answer. Okay? It's a linear equation, not a quadratic, a linear. So just get your x's. First get rid of one of the x's. You don't get rid of one whole side. Okay? So that's 5x plus 6 equals negative 1. Then I subtract 6. Negative 1 minus 6 is negative 7. Then I divide by 5. And that's the answer, negative 7 over 5. Okay, then number 7. We have 3 over x plus 5 equals x minus 5 over 3. So we're going to take A times B, and we know that that's equal to C times D. So A, B, C, D. So A is 3, B is 3, C is x minus 5, and D is x plus 5. So 3 times 3 is 9. Now to multiply these two expressions, you have to apply the FOIL method. So we're going to take x times x. Then we're going to take x times 5. Then we're going to take negative 5 times x. And then negative 5 times negative 5. Negative 5 times negative 5. So that's x to the second power. This is 5x. This is negative 5x. I like that because then those go away. And that's positive 25. So over here we got x to the second power. Or no, wait a second. That was negative 5 times positive 5. I'm sorry. That's negative 25. So minus 25. Now, you can do the square root method. You don't have to do the factoring like we did on this problem here when we ended up with x squared and x. Because you see here, that's an A. There are no B's. There's no X's. Okay, there's only X to the seconds. These are C's. A's and C's, I apply the square root method. I add 25 to both sides. I get 34. So 34 equals 1x to the second. Just get rid of the 1, and then you apply the square root, and that takes you to your answer. So if you don't have any B terms, meaning no X terms, you are good to go with the square root. First, you got to make sure your x is by yourself. So the square root of 34, I'll let you just square root it on your calculator if we were in the classroom. Maybe I'd do it differently, but so square root 34, 5.83. Okay, so plus or minus though, 5.83. Okay, and then you have 4 to do on your assignment.